It did kind of sound like you said Donald Trump there, but he said drop and give me 20, I think. I don't know, unless Dee Snider was very prophetic way back when, and maybe he was. You never know. Maybe it was the hair. There had to be a lot of bleach in that thing, so you never know when that's going to seep into your brain and cause some crazy things to go on. But that is going to do it for another Rock and Roll pre-show. Thanks to everybody who came along, tuned in early, requested, and of course, trolling along. That is always appreciated as well. I saw Mutter a few minutes ago in the troll room saying he missed Void Zero. We all missed Void Zero. He dropped in briefly the other day. He doesn't even have an internet connection now. He's only on 4G as they're moving between houses and all this other cool stuff that's going on there. So he's a busy guy. He said, don't forget to change a few diapers. And I hope he's doing that. I mean, it's all fun until the diapers start getting filled. Then it's a little bit less fun. But with that said, it is now time for the big show, the main event, the podcast that is like a brick shattering the media's lies. The No Agenda Show, the best damn podcast in the universe. Now, Thursday, I'll be back with the stacks of wax to entertain the slaves through the radio waves. Fletcher said that. I stole it. I hope you can join me then. But until next time, I am Darren O'Neill. Thanks for listening. Over to you in Austin, Tejas, Podfather.
Turn down your goddamn radio!
Please remember, when calling the Nick the Rat Show, turn down your goddamn radio. This message has been brought to you by the No Agenda Stream and producers like you.
All right. I'm getting there. Kinds of issues. It's late. Still. You know how that goes, right? Exactly. Stand by. Thanks, Darren.
You've got mail. 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 You've got mail.
This is now the 9th night of protest since the killing of George Floyd.
Liberation begins where America dies.
Antifa, they're a destabilization force.
They don't know what to do without emotion.
I still think it's not enough, but I'm so happy that we're moving towards change. It's the city's burning, so you don't arrest 4 people.
Peaceful.
Whether they know it or not, they're just contributing to the propaganda.
People cannot get to the stores now.
We have large numbers of high-capacity, quality firearms in the hands of remorseless criminals who don't care who they shoot.
What you're seeing in front of your eyes, they're saying is a conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory, that's an information warfare term that's meant to shut down any conversation into silence and to intimidate and to get us to self-censor.
They're being bamboozled, scammed, hoodwinked. And one day, that sleeping giant is going to wake up and understand who the real culprit is. There are 2 people that I think are destroying this country, and that are guilty white people and angry, rich, entitled blacks who continue to play the race card, and they don't have to live with the consequences of their advocacy. Guilty white people and angry, rich, entitled blacks. Guilty. When these middle-class people who live in safe communities are villainize the police, and then the murder rate goes up. Less police, more black-on-black crime, more black-on-black death. Poor people are being hustled by these middle-class politicians. As Malcolm X said, they're being bamboozled, scammed, hoodwinked. And one day, that sleeping giant is going to wake up and understand who the real culprit is. And it is people who look like them who are failing to use their positions to profit the least of God's children. Instead, they're using it to benefit themselves and their own group. As Malcolm X said, they're being bamboozled, scammed, hoodwinked, bamboozles. It's more class than it is race. And now race is being used to deflect attentions away from the failures of people running those institutions. The question is, why are black kids failing in school systems run by their own people? A lot of young people were shot by the police, but they were black police shooting black kids, and not one was prosecuted. But there was no public outcry, because as long as illegality or evil wears a black face, then it escapes detection. And that's what's wrong with looking through life through the prism of race. And that's what's wrong with looking through life.
Hello in the morning to you. Hello? Okay, hold on. Why am I not hearing you? Okay. Hold on. Always something fresh and new. Okay, I see you connected. Let's check the audio, playback device. That's always the problem. Okay, are you there?
I'm here.
Yes, I knew I could get it to work.
I was here all along.
I know. I just couldn't hear you. It's been an interesting 48 hours.
Why?
Well, when we left, I had some email problems, if you recall.
Yes, well, we'll continue the story.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Could you give me just a quick read? I think you're sounding good, but just want to check the levels.
Okay.
Just to make sure we're all copacetic, you know what I'm saying?
All right. Do a story. One of my faves.
Okay.
Texas jury blocks dad from stopping 7-year-old son's chemically castrated transition.
Oh no, this is, I've never heard
On
this story.
Monday,
what is up with this story? This is brand new.
Texas jury ruled that Jeffrey Younger, the father of a 7-year-old boy, James, could not legally prevent the boy's mother and his ex-wife, Dr. Ann Georgulas, from giving the biological male puberty blockers and cross-X hormones in order to chemically castrate the son, who Georgulas insists is a girl because of his fondness for the Disney princess movie Frozen.
Woohoo!
And with a consensus of 11 of the 12 Texas jurors, the jury decided not to grant Mr. Younger sole managing conservatorship over the two twin boys.
No.
They voted that the current joint managing conservatorship should be replaced by a sole managing conservatorship.
All right, let me just test this.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for your Gitmo Nation National Anthem.
In the morning, Gitmo Nation, we are all charged up to be human resources and servants in all lands and all ships at sea. From the east to west, down under to the lowlands and beyond. We are happy and distracted slaves. Hear our Gitmo Nation song.
Okay, I think we're good. In the morning, everybody. Hadn't played that one yet. Okay. Now, what have we done for show art, people? Have you given me something to work with here? Ay.
that's interesting.
Was there?
Well, normally when I run this program,
Uh-oh. Whatever you're doing, it's breaking up your audio. What program are you running?
Oh, really? I just opened the browser.
Oh, that's better now. It stopped.
Well, it shouldn't be doing anything.
No, it was crunching the bandwidth for some reason.
Oh, the browser came up and...
Yeah, and it loaded all kinds of resources and crippled something. That's what happens.
Well, there's that.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. You were saying something about the program.
Yeah, I was saying that Skype's running at the same time, and I didn't know that would work because of your experience.
Oh, you have Skype running now? You should definitely turn Skype
now.
off. Okay, yeah. No, Skype is not a great thing together. Okay, here we go. Gotcha. All right, everybody. Trolls ready? Trolls all good? Everyone good?
Fat lady!
That sounds right.
Valkyrie!
That sounds about right. We know you're all pissed off. That's right, everybody. It is that time once again. Servers rebuilt or not, there is your bat signal. Go ahead, retweet the tweet, boost me see this. Yeah. Okay. Are you there? Are you there and ready? Oh, why am I not hearing you? Of course. Gotta undo some shit. There we go. All right. I got you back. A little less reverb. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. Ready when you are.
All right.
You got your checklist. Oh. Well, I'll never ask you in the show.
What?
Well, I'll ask you in the show. I could ask you now, but why waste valuable material?
Yes. All right. Ready?
Yep.
Hit it.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, June 7th, 2020. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1249.
This is No Agenda.
Overloading IMAP servers and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 here in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the drone star state. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I was going for the cop's gun, he knocked me to the ground, and I can't figure out why. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
What is that story? Must be something that happened in your neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a video that's going around where this huge phalange of cops are marching forward, and some old fart in his 70s, I think, was up there, and one of the cops knocked him on his ass, but no one ever noticed that this old guy was standing in the way of these cops, and he made a lunge for one of the cops' guns.
Actually, there's a lot of information. Oh, is that me? The hell? Stop that. Oh, it's the same damn spammer. There's a lot of information that was staged, and that there's some evidence, photographic evidence, that the guy had a fake blood kit with a tube running up his back to his ear, so when he fell down, and immediately there was blood coming, or it looked like there was blood coming out of his ear, and this guy apparently is some kind of agitator.
You think?
but to go to that length is pretty extreme. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. So that's actually in the show notes. People.
Well, the cops got fired anyway.
Oh, really?
That was this morning that somebody said they did. I don't know for a fact, but it wouldn't surprise me.
First thing that is very important, as multiple people have asked me to remind you, I believe some have even sent to the P.O. box B12 vitamin boxes for you. Have you received? Have you taken? Are you good to go?
Yeah, I've got 2 in my mouth as we speak. Vitamin B's.
2 in your mouth, 1 in the hand. It's nice.
I've got that many.
But do you dissolve them? Don't you just swallow them?
Well, the B12 methyl is supposed to be kind of, it's not sublingual, but you're supposed to chew it and get a lot of saliva mixed in with it.
Yeah, okay. You could have
just swallow it straight up. It's less effective.
You could have done that before the show. Now it kind of sounds like you got marbles in your mouth.
Well, I wouldn't have. Well, here.
It's not a big deal, really. It doesn't bother me. I'm just saying.
But you're the one who says, well, I always take 2 vitamin B12s before the show.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the bottle as I'm coming upstairs with the tea.
Yeah.
And I said, let me take 2 before the show and see what that does. So that's what I did. But unfortunately, now they're gone. I don't have any now.
Well, we'll know in an hour or so how
it's unprofessional to be chewing on the air.
Man, I had an interesting 48 hours coming off of that email bomb that
So you're finally clear?
All
clear.
Not exactly all clear, but I got to say, Mark Void Zero, man, to the rescue. Middle of the night, because of course he's 7 hours later than I am here in Austin. He's in the north of the Netherlands. And he helped me mitigate, set up email server. But holy crap, this was very severe. And everyone I've spoken to says that someone absolutely had to pay money to set this up to do this. And typically these types of attacks where you just get subscribed to all these horrible lists and really spam devices, it's typically done when someone steals your account info, such as your bank account records or some other information with a password, and they've stolen that and they want to obfuscate the password reset email that you get. So I did spend an inordinate amount of time looking through about 130,000 emails to see if there wasn't anything legit in there, which I couldn't find. So and nothing seems to have been
that's a very
adjusted.
cute idea.
Very, very time consuming. It really robbed me of time. So that
yes, I'm sure it did. And you'll never get that time back. It's worse than one of my clips. So I got one of these. So one of these guys sent me a note, one of our producers, and he says he got the same. It's called subscription bomb or subscription attack, and he says that his was triggered. I don't know if you got this note. Well, you probably couldn't find it if you did.
I wasn't able to find all of them, no.
But he says that his was triggered by his guy, because he tracked it down. He spent weeks, I guess, figuring out how this happened, because he didn't do anything to anybody.
Right.
But he says he figures it was from hitting an unsubscribe button. And it was just a nefarious thing. It's like you hit the unsubscribe button and say, "Oh, really?" And then they just you get put, and it's a database.
Yeah,
you get sent to the database, and everything gets, you get subscribed to everything.
Yeah. I long since learned it's not a good idea to hit the unsubscribe button in your email. It doesn't always do what you want, and it's a perfect security flaw. It's perfect for that. Hey, I just sent a bullcrap email to 100 million people, and look, there are people alive because they hit unsubscribe. Good, we got a live one. Add to the database. Good to go.
Well, there's
exactly. Now, what is kind of fun is that we've implemented DMARC and SPF records, which is really something Google put together. And I know why they say they did it, but it has a couple of extraneous side effects that benefit Google. And so, in what happens now through a process with, as I said, DMARC, SPF, DMARC, and DKIM.
And there goes the audience.
No, they'll like this. In fact, the audience seems to have told me about most of this, interestingly enough, that you can actually verify who sent an email on behalf of Adam at curry.com, or, there's a number of ways you can actually track it back. And so there's a couple of big WordPress installs that got hit and subscribed me and signed me up for a whole bunch of websites. So we're contacting them because we can now track exactly what time the emails came in. They can track it back and see what IP address registered that. And so we may actually be able to find out what IP address it came from, which could be kind of fun. But I have little hope anyone's ever going to get tracked down.
They're on a VPN.
Yeah, whatever
so I have,
it is. Yeah.
I use a VPN a lot, and just to lighten things up just for a second, when you use a VPN, you're always risking the following. This is my clip. It's not much of a risk, but the problem with a VPN clip.
Okay.
Меня зовут Ренат Королев. Я специалист по созданию продающих сайтов. Автор книги «Взлом конверсии. Как сделать сайт, который будет продавать».
And how did you get that? And how was that a problem? Other than I don't know what it is.
You're on YouTube. You click on it. You want to watch a video, and they play you a 30-second Ukrainian ad.
high production values there in Ukraine, huh? Really nice.
Well, I'll tell you, they did. There's a Russian ad that I got that was for some one of these cell phone games, the Battleship War of the Battleships or something. Mm-hmm. It was pretty exciting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I watched through the whole thing. It was interesting enough.
Oh, that's fantastic. Anyway, still will take a couple more days to flesh. Oh, I was going to say the reason why Google, I think part of the benefits to them implementing this type of thing is that you can no longer use your Gmail, and just say, I'm sending it as adam@curry.com and just reply to, reply there, it gets forwarded to Gmail. You can't do that anymore unless you have an actual account on that server. So you can set up an alias if you have an account on that server. Not if you just want to put the reply to. Remember that was really easy. Or
that was the old.
Well, the reply to is the way to do it. Yeah, but the spoof is you can no longer say it's from, let's say john@curry.com if you don't have an account. So you will always be stuck at anything that has to be registered to your Gmail. Otherwise, they won't let you do it. So, and it is to combat spoofing, but fuck, man. And there was another thing we ran into, which we only figured out as we were configuring my email, Void Zero and I, that two of the main certificate authorities, and they have a central certificate, which is usually good for 10 years. So two of these expired on May 30th, and a lot of people didn't know. Mainly because it's a Sunday when dudes named Ben are probably not always on the case. And so if you look around the net, there's all kinds of certificate errors taking place now. And we had it on our MP3 files, on the email. It's just, anyway, more than anyone wants to know. You're absolutely right. However, I did go to a fun meetup yesterday here in Austin, Texas, which was the 5112 local.
Yeah, how many people?
I made a mistake. I thought, I'll just go by. It'll show up around 2:30. It started at 2. I'll say hi to everybody. Usually about 8 or 10 people there. And, just hang out, have a beer. We had to sit outside anyway. So it was 95 degrees. You can't sit inside at Doc's backyard yet because of Corona. Well, there must have been 35 or 40 people, including a party bus with 10 people that drove up from San Antonio. It was like, what? What happened all of a sudden? And new people, John, new people. And the whole slew from San Antonio was fantastic. We had a really good time, but of course I spent much more time there than I should have. And kind of ran into the late hours on prepping, but so cool.
Well, this reminds me of the video going around the net showing the Cosmopolitan Casino open in Vegas.
Yes, and it's packed. I was talking to Dame Angela. She says it's packed. No one's social distancing, and we're open.
No, it's packed. Not only packed, no social distancing, and no mask. One mask at the very beginning of the video, and which confirmed to me that there was actually it was not an old video. And so I got some notices from some guys that work in the Vegas gaming industry, and one of them said that since they've relaxed in Vegas, and he's in Reno, he says that, and he's an industry term, he says the coin in is the highest they've ever seen, and that of course refers to slot machines, or anything where there's a coin you put it in. So the coin in, he says, is the highest ever. I mentioned in a tweet that I tweeted, which is they don't let you take pictures in these casinos, and somebody corrected me on that, telling me that years ago they relaxed that, so you can walk, because people.
With selfies, you couldn't stop that anymore.
You couldn't stop
Crazy.
it, so they just
no
gave
way to
up.
Stop it. No way to stop it.
And so this guy just walked through the casino with taking a movie, and the place was indeed packed. So I don't know. I mean, this changes my whole perspective on what's going to happen when they reopen sporting events, like a football game, for example, at a college stadium.
I think they're already set. They're already done. They've got to do the fake crowd noise. There is, especially football. Now, I don't know about college, but the NFL, they're under complete control by Black Lives Matter right now. And I predict you right now that Colin Kaepernick will be forced to play and some team will be forced to hire him. Maybe even the Vikings, for all I know.
No, he's not going to play.
He's going to play. They're going to force the issue. One of these Trump friend, white nationalist, a-hole, Nazi, white owners has to repent.
Put it in the book. You can go on and on all you want, but the guy can't play anymore. He's over the hill.
Oh, how little you know
to bring John Brody back.
How little you know of this movement. These people are relentless. Relentless.
This was the time. This was a reminder. Kaepernick doesn't want to play. I mean, Kaepernick set up that scam with the NFL where he's going to try out for all these teams and they're going to put it in some stadium and event. And he canceled it and decided to do his own photo shoot by himself because his skills are gone. You can't take off.
No,
he wasn't that good to begin with.
He doesn't have the weight. That's the problem.
No.
I'm putting it in my own book.
One hit, that's it.
I'm putting it in my own book.
Okay, get your book out.
And
you got one of those books, you bought one.
Yes, Cap to play NFL. It will be a condition. It will be a condition of Black Lives Matter. Hey, man, they're getting politicians, celebrities to kneel and repent. So this doesn't surprise me that they'll push for this. Now maybe Kaepernick won't start, but he'll be hired.
He won't start.
He'll be hired.
For sure.
He'll be hired. He'll be hired. Oh yeah. But before we do that,
as a hello, welcome to Walmart guy.
Okay, look, it's in the book. I have my idea. You have your ideas. We'll just leave it at that. I do want to listen to it.
Thank you. Going to start early in the game.
Okay, I'll pay very close attention to you. So already, I'm dumb. I smack, and here is
you smacked your lip.
Okay,
you're not supposed to jump on me for mentioning it.
Well, it was a 2-4, a 1-2 punch. You see?
Well, okay.
Okay.
I never said you were dumb either. So you're putting words in my mouth. You're a mind reader.
Welcome to the Black Lives Matter tactics.
Anymore.
This is exactly how it goes.
He's going to go out there and get killed if he
That's fine. I didn't say he would play well or not get killed on the field.
That would be a good publicity stunt.
He's going to get hired and he'll get killed. Okay, on the field. That we can keep it at that. So everywhere we're seeing medical professionals now coming out and saying different things. On one side, we have people who are actually interested in health and medicine, and they are studying and seeing that things are changing with the virus.
To the medical story. This is very optimistic news.
No, actually, that's not the one I wanted. That's that stupid guy. Damn it! I had the virus is getting less. Where the hell did that go?
Yeah, the virus is getting weaker. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, okay. Here it is, changing actually.
Recent reports from northern Italy indicate that the SARS-CoV-2 virus, that is what causes COVID-19 illness and infection, may be changing, with some patterns suggesting that the potency has diminished.
Yes, isn't that interesting? How the potency may? Yes, it seems less severe. Oops.
Yes.
Well, anecdotally, that doesn't bode well for pandemic 2, does it?
Hold on. There's lots of things to be done still.
Anecdotally, what we've been seeing in recent positive cases, that is people who test positive for the virus, is that the total amount of the virus that the patient has is much less than in earlier stages of the pandemic. Also, the number of new COVID-19 ill patients that we've had to place on a ventilator has decreased since the last week of April. We see all of this as evidence that the COVID-19 cases are less severe than when this first started.
Here's a couple of doctors from the University of Pennsylvania Medical Center.
Recent reports from northern Italy indicate that the SARS-CoV-2 virus, that is what
says Italy.
He also says Italy. That's not the same guy, though. That's a different guy. He said Italy.
No, that was the same clip.
No, it's a different clip.
No, it was the same guy in the same clip in the same Italy.
Well, this is the full clip. No, that's weird.
We've tested widely here, including using our own UPMC-derived test and other tests that perform very highly, seeking to understand what's happening in our communities before the virus arrived, after it arrived, and right now. And this helps inform us on what we need to do. Our goal is to give you the best care and to understand what the threat of the virus is. Anecdotally, what we've been seeing in recent positive cases, that is people who test positive for the virus, is that the total amount of the virus that the patient has is much less than in earlier stages of the pandemic. Also, the number of new COVID-19 ill patients that we've had to place on a ventilator has decreased since the last week of April.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Sometimes it goes wrong.
It happens to me all the time.
The point was, I don't know, I just messed it all up. I was going to play what the other people are saying. Fuck it, you do something. You've confused me.
Okay,
it's all
well,
your
I
fault.
got one. When was let's ask you a question. What was it? Remember one time in New York, I think it was 1,000 dead.
Yeah.
In one day.
Yeah.
And there, remember?
Yeah.
And then they said, well, maybe we should start back. And then Cuomo says, no, there's going to be, we're still waiting for the surge, which is supposed to take place in mid-April.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's listen to Cuomo's yesterday's press conference where he's singing a different tune all of a sudden. We went from 1,000 to what?
Today is a day of good news. We have one of the lowest hospitalization rates since this began, and really good news, we have the lowest death rate. It's down to 35. I've been asking all the experts who will talk to me, what is the lowest that number can go? And when it gets this low, it's really a question of what they're attributing as the cause of death. In other words, you have people who are gravely ill, who are going to die of something, and if they get the COVID virus, they attribute it to the COVID virus. But there is a number. When it gets down this low, it's really a question of what that hospital certifies as a cause of death. So we'd like to see nobody die in the state of New York ever.
So what did he basically say? He basically said, we actually have negative deaths because they're just making it up? What the hell?
That's what he said. And if you listen to the whole clip where he gets to the end, he says, in New York, we want to have no deaths ever.
Yeah.
Is this him not signaling the hospitals to, okay, we can stop the scam now?
Didn't he literally say it depends on how you code it?
Yeah.
I want to hear that again. I want to hear it again. I want to hear it again. I want to hear it again. That one part.
What they're attributing as the cause of death.
Back a little. Here we go.
What is the lowest that number can go? And when it gets this low, it's really a question of what they're attributing as the cause of death. In other words, you have people who are gravely ill,
I mean, the guy is basically saying, guys, well, it depends. He may be saying code it up a little bit. I don't know. Who knows what his agenda is?
No,
truly.
I think the message was clear. At the end, he says we want no deaths. He's telling him to pull the plug on the scam.
Yeah, well, you get a clip of the day for that one. I totally missed that one.
Clip of the day.
But he reveals the scam. Oh, well, it's the way they coded it. He reveals the scam, which we have revealed for the last 2 months.
It's a little closer to 3 almost, yeah.
Time and again, we found people that said, well, they keep pressuring us to say COVID when it wasn't COVID. The guy died of a heart attack.
And
they want us to put COVID.
But also, this comes at a very interesting time, coincidentally, as another issue that we've been looking at and have declared to be incorrect and wrong. Yes, we went against science and were often excoriated for it. Turns out, yes, we actually can read medical journal entries and we can make a conclusion as well.
The mainstream media narrative against the use of hydroxychloroquine is quickly falling apart. The recently published Lancet study, which has been used by many to denounce hydroxychloroquine, is now being retracted by its own authors over serious concerns about its scientific credibility.
If you're wondering why I chose this as a clip, that's because the only 2 outlets that will report the story are Fox News and One American News. I decided this was funny.
The study has been plagued with controversy since it was released, with numerous doctors and scientists around the world coming forward to refute its claims as wildly exaggerated. As a result of the Lancet study, numerous countries, including France, Belgium, and Italy, as well as the WHO, all suspended trials of hydroxychloroquine or outright banned its use in treating coronavirus patients. Now, however, the study is being formally retracted after independent reviewers were unable to verify its highly questionable results.
That is not true. I disagree with that. The reason why it was withdrawn is because they gave the implication that it was, and I think the conclusion was that hydroxychloroquine does not help. But what they didn't say, or what they didn't do, is actually try the test with zinc. They only tried it with an antibiotic and without an antibiotic, so they didn't actually perform the correct test. Yet they yes.
Well, there's more to it than that. The group that did all this,
that's the better part.
Fraud.
That's the better part. That the group was about 8 people, and 2 of them were adult film stars, which sounds like a fun place to work at. Honestly,
yeah, that'd be great.
The main complaint
after quitting hours
made by the study was that hydroxychloroquine caused heart complications, but that claim was refuted by the American Heart Association itself.
By the way, there were 2 studies that were withdrawn, and that was only one of them. The other one was published in the New England Medical Journal of Medicine.
Now hold on a second. Stop. We're talking about the two most prominent medical research journals. Period. They are the number 1 and 2 operations, and they both screwed it up. And why would they do that? Because of political pressures amongst the millennials that work there. That's where this comes from.
Well, in addition to that, I will say that probably a good 50%, if not more, of all the studies published in these journals are not reproducible. The scientists know it. The scientific field knows it. It's called the reproduction problem. And they all know that they're full of crap and lying, and it's coming to roost. These guys got away easy because who cares? Some company is probably gone by now. It doesn't even exist, only on paper. But yeah, this is total fraud.
The main complaint made by the study was that hydroxychloroquine caused heart complications, but that claim was refuted by the American Heart Association itself, which found no increase in heart complications whatsoever. Dr. Gold confirmed these findings, explaining the drug was only problematic for patients who had known issues with heart disease, something any doctor prescribing the medicine would already be aware of. Following the retraction of the study, the World Health Organization has resumed its studies of hydroxychloroquine for treatment of coronavirus patients. After President Trump's endorsement, the California State Medical Board sent a letter to physicians across the state warning them against using it. It's not clear how the Lancet study's retraction will affect doctors in the U.S., but Dr. Gold says there are a lot of patients around the country who could be helped today if more doctors were allowed to freely prescribe this medication.
Some people probably died because of these publications.
Very possibly, actually.
Now, I could go to Costco and just talk to like maybe 10 people and find someone who could do a better read than that guy.
But they may not look as buff as he does. He looks the part. He's just a horrible reader. He may be a robot for all I know.
It sounds like a robot.
He's a good looking robot. Yeah. So we have the situation now where everything's it seems like the virus is diminishing in strength, which would mean that it probably wouldn't come back at all. Although I'm pretty sure we all know now that the political activists will do anything they can, and they're spread out throughout the entire world. We got people yelling "F Trump" in the UK, in the Netherlands, in Munich.
Well, they're not voters.
They're not voters, but it's all used. In fact,
well, the absentee voter in the UK, and they're very influenced by locals, and Trump may lose some overseas votes.
Yeah, he may lose some of those votes. Just back to the NFL, and really, at this point, we have to agree that many pieces of the mainstream media, many people are complicit, and it is impossible that Jake Tapper can play this clip in these particular times while interviewing Ben Carson, the brain surgeon, who, and for this case, it matters that he's ADOS, who is the Secretary of HUD, Housing and Urban Development, and actually gets into this conversation. Now, remember, we have coronavirus, we got people outside, we got them protesting, rioting, Black Lives Matter, and of course, we need to connect that to Trump. I'm telling you, my Kaepernick prediction is not far off. Listen to this clip.
When somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired.
The president reiterated Friday that he still opposes those who protest police brutality by kneeling during the national anthem. You've said you support peaceful protests. Do you support NFL players exercising that right to peacefully protest by kneeling during the anthem?
Have you ever seen two people in a vehement argument and they're talking about completely different things and they're talking past each other and they're not able to come to a solution? That's what this is all about. There are some people who are talking about the flag. We're talking about our veterans. We're talking about people who sacrificed their lives. We're talking about our police officers. And there are others who are talking about injustice in the system, and they're arguing past each other. That's the problem.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, and I don't particularly personally have a policy point on this, but what do you think about the right of NFL players to do this? I mean, the president called them sons of bitches.
Hold on. That is, he did it now in his own segment, and I like calling him out. The president did not call the players sons of bitches. He did not say, all players who kneel are sons of bitches. Oh, no, I'm sorry. All black players who kneel are sons of bitches.
He never even mentioned race.
Well, let's just listen again.
When somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field.
Get that son of a bitch off the field if they disrespect the flag. But Topper turns it into
players to do this. I mean, the president called them sons of bitches.
Come on, man. It's bullshit. This is a political activist, not a journalist.
You just heard the clip for taking a knee and peacefully protesting police brutality. That's what they were trying to do. And in fact, Colin Kaepernick originally would sit during the national anthem.
Yeah, because he was on the sidelines. That wasn't because he was protesting. He was kicked out. He was dumb, no good.
And then a veteran.
No, that's not true.
That's how it started. He was on the sidelines, on the bench. That is absolutely how it started. Way before he started to kneel, that was a vet who came over and said, hey, man, maybe you should kneel. That was...
yeah, he was on, but he wasn't on the bench because he wasn't playing. He was, when they do the national anthem, all the players get up and stand. They didn't leave one guy on the bench because he wasn't playing. You make it sound like he was on the bench because he's incompetent.
I respectfully disagree because we deconstructed this whole episode on MoFax, and he was sitting on the bench because he was not being played. That's how it started.
But was he sitting on the bench in protest?
No, of course he wasn't sitting in protest, but that's what they're saying.
This is not right. I would argue this point.
Listen to what they're saying.
You just heard the clip for taking a knee and peacefully protesting NFL players to do this. I mean, the president called them sons of bitches. You just heard the clip for taking a knee and peacefully protesting police brutality. That's what they were trying to do. And in fact, Colin Kaepernick originally would sit during the national anthem.
Okay. He was on the bench, and it was his girlfriend who started this all off. I mean, I'm just telling you.
I'm just telling. Okay.
The protest was not while he was sitting on the bench.
The point is that during the national anthem, all the players are standing in a long line with their hands on their heart or not.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody sitting on the bench during the national anthem unless they're doing it for some particular reason. And it's
that. So you're making my point. You're not listening. You're making my point. Jake Tapper said he used to sit as if he was sitting in protest. That's just not true. Did you ever see him sit during the national anthem?
I wasn't paying any attention to any of this. I'm just telling you the process.
And I'm telling you.
So if he was sitting during the national anthem, there had to be some reason for him sitting. And if it was sitting because he wasn't starting, that's one thing.
No, my point. Okay. All right. I'm going to say it one more time. We never saw him sit during the national anthem. Jake Tapper makes it sound like he was sitting in protest during the national anthem.
Oh, no, I agree with that. I'm not arguing that point.
Well, that's all I'm saying.
Well, you're making it sound like he's sitting during the national anthem out of...
No, that's what Jake Tapper is saying. I said he wasn't sitting there. Okay. Wow, the B12 hasn't kicked in.
Clip.
No, it's not me. I'm just telling you the process, the way things go. And if he was sitting for some reason.
Yeah, because it hadn't. Exactly. I think we're saying the same thing, but you're being argumentative.
I don't think so. Because you and Mo are saying that he was sitting because he wasn't starting, or he was irked because he was benched, or something like that.
And that was not during the national anthem. It was during the entire game. He never even got to the lineup. Didn't at all.
Well, that's different.
That's what I'm saying. Jake Tapper makes it sound like he was sitting in protest, and he never was.
Oh, I believe that's possible.
Thank you.
That he was sitting because he's just pissed.
Exactly what I said.
I mean, the president called them sons of bitches. You just heard the clip for taking a knee and peacefully protesting police brutality. That's what they were trying to do. And in fact, Colin Kaepernick originally would sit during the national anthem, and then a veteran who was upset about it, and Colin Kaepernick had a dialogue about this, a former Green Beret, and they came up with the idea of Kaepernick taking a knee because that was respectful, because that's a way that people pray. And yet the president called Kaepernick and anyone else who engages in that kind of peaceful protest a son of a bitch.
My personal feeling is if those players were to come out and say, we love our nation, we are patriots, we love our flag, we honor the memory of those who died to give us our freedom, but we are protesting some of the brutality that has occurred, and that's why we are doing this, I think it would solve the problem, and I suggest that they do that.
There you go. Took much longer to get through the clip than necessary.
I smell the stench of China and Nike.
Oh, yeah. By the way, the controversial clip we just discussed did bring me a possible end-of-show ISO.
The president called them sons of bitches.
Oh, I got an ISO.
Okay.
Which I think is a little better when I have my series of Joe Biden clips.
Oh, well, let's wait until we get to them. But let's stick here.
No, you want to hear the ISO's fine.
All right. You want ISO?
Thank you, Biden.
Thank you for listening.
We've played that one as an end-of-show ISO.
This just came from a thing he just did a couple of days ago.
Okay, I'll find it's almost the exact same. Biden. Let's see. Thank you.
I don't think I think it got bumped, by the way.
Okay, here it is. I have this one.
I'm Joe Biden, and thank you for taking the time to listen.
Okay, it's similar, not the same. But we did play one of those ISOs. I have an uncanny
this one's
memory.
A lot tighter.
Yes, it is. And I think sons of bitches is funny.
And by the way, why at the very end of a speech would you say, I'm Joe Biden? We know who you are.
Well, you do that. That's part of the I approve this message script. I just pull the approve this message, and Joe reads whatever they tell him to read. Possible. Hello?
Yeah, it's possible. He just reads because I saw him lose the prompter on one of these clips I got. He's just looking at it, and then he blanks out. And then I think it overrides because the prompter guy's falling asleep, or he's just letting it go. It's gone automatic. You know how that happens?
Yeah.
And so I think the prompter went past his cue, and now he's reading just random stuff.
Possibly. All right, let's just talk about, let's see, we've got masks and muzzles, I believe. In the UK.
So when Cuomo gave his little spiel about the 35 deaths and all the rest of it, what happened? Where's all this, concern about social distance? You got these riots in town. Now that should technically bump up the numbers. I mean, we're talking a lot of people, no social distancing. There's packed in.
Right.
But nobody's discussing this.
Well, yes, people are discussing it.
And nobody I've noticed.
Well,
you have clips?
I have an open letter. First of all, there are definitely a few people here and there saying, well, we might see a surge in 2 weeks, which by now should be really next week. We should see the surge. It's been 12 days that people have been out, not social distancing. 10 days. So maybe 4 or 5 more days this week, we should see a surge in several cities around the country, around the world, actually. Rotterdam, Amsterdam, Munich, London, not so, also London, but big crowds in Munich. We should be seeing that. And if we don't, well, then we can draw our conclusions. But the open letter I'm referring to did get a lot of press because, of course, it was another one of those 1,200 medical professionals send open letter about the demonstrations. And the key quote is, social justice is more important than social distancing. And I have this letter here. It's in the show notes.
Well, this is a disgusting letter then.
For a number of reasons. So
they don't care if people die? And I mean, it's not as though it's these protests are saving lives.
Open letter advocating for an anti-racist public health response to demonstrations against systemic injustice occurring to the COVID-19 pandemic. Most people would click away right after that opening sentence because what the hell did it mean?
Nothing.
But here's how their letter starts. On April 30th, heavily armed and predominantly white protesters entered the state capitol building in Lansing, Michigan, protesting stay-home orders and calls for widespread public masking to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Infectious disease physicians and public health officials publicly condemned these actions and privately mourned the widening rift between leaders in science and a subset of the communities they serve. As of May 30th, we are witnessing continuing demonstrations in response to ongoing pervasive and lethal institutional racism set off by the killings, plural, of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, among many other black lives taken by police. A public health response to these demonstrations is also warranted, but this message must be wholly different from the response to white protesters resisting stay-home orders. Infectious disease and public health narratives adjacent to demonstrations against racism must be consciously anti-racist, and infectious disease experts must be clear and consistent in prioritizing an anti-racist message. Long story short, we propose the following guidance. And they just say basically, it's okay, but wear a mask. Don't use tear gas, smoke, or any other respiratory irritants. That could kind of mess up your system. Prepare for an increased number of infections in the days following a protest. So we're waiting for all that. But here's the rub. Who signed this letter? Who are these 1,200 people? You've taught us, you've taught me, to go look at what's the mailing list. Who the hell is on this? This could be a good list.
Yeah.
And this is the part that I don't think anyone's really looking at. So I'll just go, it's in alphabetical order. And so we have, MD, MBA, Vanderbilt Medical University Center. Okay, that makes sense. Then we have WSU medical student. Oh, I'm glad the students are in on it.
Student.
Oh, yeah. Abraham Rice. Abraham's title is activist. I mean, you can't make it any crazier. It's on the letter. Here, Adrienne Jones. Do you know what her title is?
A homemaker?
African American. That's her title.
That's her title?
That's her title on this letter. Yes. This thing is effed. It's completely nuts. They just threw it together and threw some names on there. Half of them are students, which is fine, but you don't necessarily have the jobs.
I could put a letter together and go hire a bunch of these guys who do petitioning. Those guys that stand in the corner that you give grief to. Which, by the way, that does work. Your trick. You probably forgot it because you don't see these guys so much anymore.
Which one? The homeless?
No, you'd go. There'd be a guy in the corner saying, we're going to save the whales, and you'd say, I hate whales.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that does work.
Yes, it does.
I mean, I've done it a couple of times now. I just say, whatever it is, I hate those things. And they just kind of take one step back and they don't try to talk me out of it or anything. They just let me go.
Yeah, of course. That guy's a nut job.
Trick.
Step back. That guy's crazy.
So you can do that, hire a group, and then just to put their titles down. And I'll bet you that within that group, you'd have pretty much the same kind of list. You'd probably get a doctor. You'd probably get some, and just move them around on the list a little bit.
Sure. So
it's bogus.
Of course it's bogus. So we do have a couple of things to look at regarding these protests and Black Lives Matter and what has been going on, which is, I think, historically just fascinating to witness. And it starts for me with an email that was distributed by a Black Lives Matter. With Christy Williams, I think. What is exactly Christy Williams? I've talked about her. She is, I don't know if is she just Black Lives Matter? I have to figure it out. Anyway, she sent an email out, email blast, and this is about, it's actually called if you are white and headed out to protest, please make sure you are doing it correctly. Here is the White Folks Guide to Protesting. Because there's a way to do it right and there's a way to do it wrong. You already heard how the medical professionals are very concerned, or at least the medical professionals on this note, very concerned we have anti-racist response and make sure we don't piss anybody off. So for white people, here is a guide to participating in these protests. And I find this a head shaker. Quite racist, in fact. Here it is. Number 1, follow calls only. Do not initiate or lead calls. And with a call, it's like, hey, hey, ho, ho. Some white guy has got to go. Yeah. Your job is to follow and add your voice when it is called for. Number 2, white people. Do not take selfies. Ask to take pictures of videos of individuals. If you are there to witness only, film the police as much as possible. Your goal is documentation to ensure that the true narrative is told. Number 3, remember, guide for white folks. Be helpful. Hand out water and snacks. Make sure protest leaders are hydrated and fed. This is exhausting work. Help keep their energy up. Number 4, follow.
Get me a cup of coffee.
Yes, sir. Follow directions. If a black person tells you to do something, you do it immediately without question. You respect the authority and decisions of the black protesters at all times. That's one of my favorites. Number 5, stay in the back until you are called forward. If you hear white people to the front or something like allies to the front, you step forward and link arms with other white people to form a human shield. It's called the White People Human Shield, I guess. 6, when you're at the front, you are silent. Your job is to be a body. You are there to support only.
This is a parody. This has got to be a satire.
It is not. It is an email that went around to people in corporations. It's not satire. It is not satire. Maybe it is, but if so, it's pretty good. I believe this to be true. And the fact that I even believe it to be true says enough. Stay in the back until you're called. We got that. When you are at the front, you are silent. We got that one? Did we? Yeah. Oh, no. When you are at the front, you are silent. Your job is to be a body. You are there to support only. The only voices on the police line should be black voices. 7, remain calm at all times. This is difficult. You will be emotional and your system will be flooded with adrenaline. Remember, this is life and death for the protesters. Save your emotions for home. Do not agitate. This is not a game. Joining a protest is a serious decision. Make sure you are there for the right reason. Support the safety of black protesters at all time. This is not a parody. This is the truth. This is really happening. I mean, the irony is we have the protesters with signs saying, I can't breathe, during an actual emergency that we were led to believe people were dying because, they couldn't breathe of corona. This is a very interesting situation.
Not buying it.
What, that it's a real note?
Yeah.
It's a real note, John. No, you don't have to buy it, but it's a real note. And I got it from multiple producers who received it at work, from colleagues. So,
well, that doesn't mean it's not a real note. I mean, that doesn't mean it's not a parody. I mean, things get passed around, as you know and I know, like crazy, especially when they're incredibly dumb.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, you're not buying it, it's fine. And
No, I'm not buying it.
Fine. Since you're not buying it.
Allies.
Yeah.
White people get to the front and form a human shield to protect everyone. Yeah, no, that was the one right there that stopped me.
Wow.
Sounds like Syria.
That's so interesting that you don't believe that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, this is exactly what we're seeing everywhere. It's this kind of behavior. And And I see these kids, they're doing exactly that. They're bringing blankets and water and, doing whatever they're told to do to help the...
You're talking about the staff of the New York Times? Or?
No, man. I'm talking about young kids who are posting it on Instagram. What are they doing? Oh, they're just giving money to, well, we talked about it, to Act Blue, thinking that it's going to bail out legitimate protesters, which is not. So I believe this to be true, but okay, we'll see. And then we have the email from our producer in Minneapolis. I don't know if you read this from Ty in Minneapolis. I felt it was worth reading this one. I believe this email to be true as well.
It's from Ty, of course it is.
Sharing my insight from Minneapolis on the recent pandemonium. I'm one of those mystical GBRs. What is a GBR, you ask? Why, that is a gay black Republican. I live in Minneapolis, and I used to live 6 blocks from the 3rd Precinct for 3 years. 3rd Precinct, of course, is where the cop headquarters got torched. I was also on the I-35W bridge on Sunday when a semi drove into a crowd of protesters. It would suffice to say that what's happening here over the last 10 days has been downright bizarre, but to me, not entirely surprising. The race problem in Minneapolis, from my perspective, is compounded largely by one group of residents, white liberals. Remember, this is the GBR, the gay black Republican. The vast majority of my friends are white liberals, and as most know, Minneapolis is often described as one of the most liberal places in the country, something I always laugh at when someone brings it up. So why is it that this is also one of the most segregated cities in America? Why does it rank at the bottom of education for students of color? Why do so many black people move away after just a few years, if even for that long? Well, in my estimation, the city is an echo chamber for white liberal virtue signaling, backed often by as little action as possible. So often, I hear them cheering for Black Lives Matter or see yard signs that say, "We love our black and brown neighbors," yet ask the majority of them if they would go have dinner in one of the black neighborhoods in the city. The answer is almost and always an awkward, "Oh, not really." Ask them if they have black friends. If they don't have one token, which isn't me, the answer is almost no. Ask them if they would be comfortable with a black family moving in next door. If you tell them you went to a store in one of the black neighborhoods, you'll be met with, "Oh, yikes, why would you go over there?" Anyway, you guys get the point. As I've seen it play out, Minneapolis is largely white, largely liberal population, love supporting these causes in theory, so long as it's not in their backyard. What's worse, there's a sense of pure arrogance when you question one of them about this problem, typically met with a response to the effect of, "Racism? In Minneapolis? I don't think so. This is a deep blue city." The past 10 days have forced many of these same residents to question, how did we let this happen here? How bad is it really? As well as hopefully finally acknowledging that masquerading as a liberal utopia is not an actual solution to our city's persistent and potentially fatal flaw. And I really appreciate that. And it is a perfect lead-in to your mayor, Jacob Fry, who is 38. He's from, so what is that, 80, 81 or 82? So he's not a millennial. He's an Xer, isn't he? He's not Gen X. You're from early 80s?
Oh, I think 82 is when it begins. So he's on the bone there.
Well, I think it's fair to call him a millennial. I'm good with that. He's good for it. So the crowd has him out with a mask on his knees in front of the Black Lives Matter speaker. I don't know exactly who she is.
I missed this.
Oh, no. Oh, this is beautiful. Now, it's a little hard to hear in the very beginning, but you'll get it. So he's kneeling at the commemorative protest on a knee, which is...
One knee or two?
One knee. But he might as well have been on two. And he starts to atone for for everything.
You have to take responsibility here. I've been coming to grips with my own brokenness in this situation, my own failures, my own shortcomings, and I know there needs to be deep-seated structural reform in terms of how the department operates. The systemically racist system needs to be revamped. The police union needs to be put in its place. We need to make sure that everything from the union contract to the way that the arbitration administration functions to the way that our officers and the culture in the department behaves.
Right. So whatever you say, it's not good enough because there's only one thing they wanted to hear from him, the protesters, and that is defund the police. You're going to defund the police, and you will say that you will defund the police. So listen, this woman who has the microphone, she's on a box or so. She's up high. She's probably, a whole body height above him. He's on the ground. It's an over-the-shoulder shot, which is phenomenal. So she's looking down on the mayor and commanding him. Wow. No pressure, by the way. Listen.
Hey, fist up! Fist up, y'all! Fist up!
Oh, that's the term about it. Fist up, fist up. You gotta say fist up. Fist up is how we do it. Fist up!
Jacob Fry, we have a yes or no question for you. Yes or no, will you commit to defunding Minneapolis Police Department? What did I say? We don't want no more police. Is that clear? We don't want people with guns toting around in our community, shooting us down. You have an answer? It is a yes or a no. It is a yes or a no.
Now, of course, it's a yes or no, and yelling at the mayor, who's still on his knees looking up. We can't really see his full expression because it's hidden by the mask, lucky for him. But she'll take it one step further.
Defund the Minneapolis Police Department. All right, be quiet, y'all. Be quiet, because it's important that we actually hear this. It's important that we hear this, because if y'all don't know, he's up for re-election next year.
So, politically active and very astute. Hey, man, you're running for election, and we need a yes or no answer.
If y'all don't know, he's up for re-election next year. And if he says no, guess what the fuck we gonna do next year? What'd you say? One more time.
I do not support the full abolition.
All right. Get the fuck out of here.
Okay, so you couldn't hear it, but he says no. It's a yes or no, and he says no, I will not defund.
I do not support the full abolition.
All right. Get the fuck out of here.
And this is the saddest thing. So now he's standing up. Everyone's sitting down on the ground, and he's walking away as they're saying, Jacob Fry, go home, like he's the nerd at school, and all the bullies have gathered to point out that, he has a spot on his pants or something, and they're telling him to go home. Go home, little man. Go home, Jacob Fry.
Go home, Jacob. Go home. Go home, Jacob. Go home.
But of course, nothing is complete without the good old Game of Thrones Walk of Shame.
Go home, Jacob. Go home.
Okay. Hold on. Here it comes. And that just goes on, and he's walking away.
The question I have is why, did he put himself through this? Why did he agree to this? Was he just wandering down the street when this happened? Or he volunteered to go do something? What was he thinking?
In case you hadn't noticed, there is no room on the political left to do this. There's no room on the spectrum of skin of white to say this. You need to get out, man. This is crazy what's happening. And this guy...
this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen anybody do as a political figure.
Yeah?
That picture of him... I can't even bring myself to express the disgust I have for this guy.
Sure.
But let's play this clip, which is the Fox. This is the clip I have about what is going to go on, because apparently the city council overrode him, and Minneapolis police reforms Fox. A little quick mention.
calls to defund or lower funding for police across the country continue to rise up nationally. You've got some leaders in Minneapolis taking things further. They want to completely dismantle the police department in favor of a new transformative force that would protect people, apparently, after the death of George Floyd. The city council there holding an emergency meeting today, and they reached an agreement with the state to ban police from using chokeholds along with some other reforms.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
But I want to mention one thing we forgot about, which is about the Minneapolis police. This department is obviously incompetent and horrible. And this was just the last of many episodes. If you remember that time, and this was probably about a year ago, where the Minneapolis police were called out because some woman had called in, a white woman, I think she was like a tourist from Australia, white, blonde, good-looking woman, called in saying she was being raped. The cops came over and shot her.
Oh, that's not good. I don't really remember that.
Yeah, they shot her. I believe they shot her through the window, just gunned her down.
I don't doubt it at all.
So the Minneapolis police have a lot of explaining to do.
Sure, but the abolition or the defunding, what the hell does defund even mean? This is a political. This is not people who are fearful. It's a political term, defund.
It's a political code word.
Yeah, so kind of back to the mayor, there's the virtue signaling. By the way, Drew Brees apologized. Not once, twice, because people are afraid of their jobs, John, because one false move and you are out.
I think Drew Brees has got plenty of money. Drew Brees should quit and retire. He's already been playing too long. He should just retire and tell them to screw themselves, but he won't do that now. He wants to play again. He's not going to be any good.
The LA Galaxy kicked one of their players off, Alexander Katai.
What's the name of that team again?
The LA Galaxy. It's a soccer. Come on, don't be a dick. It's a soccer team in Los Angeles. You've heard of Beckham, maybe a little football player you've heard of. His wife posted something on social media in, I think, Ukrainian or Serbian. And it was just, about the protest. Boom, he's done. He's gone. Someone translated it. Of course, the context of translating something from Serbian into English may not always go that well.
Really?
So, yeah, he's gone. Yeah, they've parted ways with him, so he's out. Brought in specifically to play there, actually. Jeff Bezos has to personally get out there and explain on Instagram that he
deserves it.
He supports Black Lives Matter. The co-founder of Reddit, who was married to Serena Williams.
15 years ago, I co-founded Reddit as a place for people to find community and a sense of belonging.
Oh, right.
It is long overdue to do the right thing. I'm doing this for me, for my family, and for my country. I'm saying this as a father who needs to be able to answer his black daughter when she asks, "What did you do?" So, I have resigned as a member of the Reddit board. I have urged them to fill my seat with a black candidate, and I will use future gains on my Reddit stock to serve the black community, chiefly to curb racial hate. And I'm starting with a pledge of $1 million to Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights camp. I believe resignation can actually be an act of leadership from people in power right now, and to everyone fighting to fix our broken nation, do not stop.
Wietske Venema. You won't know that name necessarily. He's a Dutch guy, and I ran across him again with the email issues as he wrote the postfix email system. He is basically the inventor of the email whitelist and blacklist. And he made a very important announcement that he feels in this day and age it is no longer appropriate to have a blacklist. For it should be a block list. The white list is okay. We keep the white list. But the black list, no, that's got to go. Billie Eilish, you're a big fan.
You think all these old Hollywood guys are going to go on about the old blacklist stories from the 30s and 40s, or 50s? The blacklist and the blacklisting of Hollywood producers and directors.
Why would they do that? Why would they do that?
Because they're Hollywood.
That's a good way to get on the blacklist. Block list. Billie Eilish, who doesn't know her? She agrees with people who have said to her, you only won your Grammys because you're white. She came out and said, that's right. Wrong. It's wrong. I have no talent. I should not have won these.
Well, she may have something there.
It's really quite bizarre. And if you want to understand where this comes from, and we've tried to, it's very, not having really been in a university or school ever, but certainly not in the past 15 to 20 years, although we've come across so many postings from parents saying, hey, what is this my kids are learning at grade school, but also in university, and look at all the different courses that are taken, and look at the influence of the donor money, where it's specific, where it can only go to a certain type of course, like gender studies or racial equality or racial justice, all of this stuff. But now they've taken it to a whole new level, and this is really serious. This started on Saturday on CNN. At 10 o'clock this morning, that Saturday morning, they had a special show, a full hour, with interviews with Sesame Street. Sesame Street, ladies and gentlemen. And here's what your kids learned.
Daddy, Emma doesn't understand. What's happening? Why are these people together?
Oh, well, they're gathering together to protest.
Protest? Emma doesn't understand. What's a protest?
Oh, a protest is when people come together to show they are upset and disagree about something. They want to make others aware of the problem. Through protesting, people are able to share their feelings and work together to make things better.
Now, so far, so good. That is a typical Sesame Street wholesome, hearty message, which turns ugly soon.
They look upset. Are the protesters sad?
They are sad and upset, and they have every right to be, Elmo. People are upset because racism is a huge problem in our country.
Huge!
Racism? What's that?
Oh, racism is when people treat other people unfairly because of the way they look or the color of their skin.
That is not the definition of racism. And this is wrong right off the bat. You're teaching the kids something that is factually incorrect. John, what is the definition of racism?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, but I do want to mention something. They pulled a little trick there, which was, this is part of a long-term white scheme to get equal employment for people who have, for example, a tattooed face.
Yeah.
Or a big spike in their nose.
You really think that's their mission? You think that's the mission, John? Or are they afraid that the black Americans are running away from the Democrat Party? I mean, do you really think it's to get the tattoo people jobs? No.
There's an element of that, but your element, which you just described, which is this fear of the blacks leaving the Democrat Party, is extreme.
It's rampant. The definition
they are freaked out.
The definition of racism, prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior. It is not what was just said here. That is not, and so you're teaching children incorrect things.
Yeah.
The color of their skin?
Here.
Racism is when people treat other people unfairly because of the way they look or the color of their skin.
The color of their skin? Oh, Elmo doesn't understand, Daddy. Elmo has friends with different types of skin. Oh, and fur, too. Black, brown, pink, purple.
I know, Elmo, but not all streets are like Sesame Street. I mean, on Sesame Street, we all love and respect one another. But across the country, people of color, especially in the black community, are being treated unfairly because of how they look, their culture, race, and who they are.
I love that he just throws the black community at all the children, like they're supposed to know what that means.
What we are seeing is people saying enough is enough. They want to end racism.
No. Emma wants to end racism too. Emma wants everybody to be treated fairly. What can Elmo do, Daddy? How can Elmo support his friends?
Oh, well, we can start by learning and talking about what is happening and take action.
Yeah. Whatever we do, let's not explain exactly what racism is. And this went on for an hour, and you can only imagine where it went from there. And this is by the way, that's public. What happened to public television money, and why is that on CNN, and how does that work? Sesame Street is not a commercial. It's a commercial product, but it's supposed to air on a non.
Oh, there was something that happened a couple of years ago. We talked about.
Well, they had 5 different CEOs. That's what happened. No one could run the thing properly. Probably because of this.
There ended up with something going. They moved something to CNN for some particular reason. I can't remember the story anymore.
Oh, really? I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was something screwy, and the CNN got some Sesame Street content.
They got some piece of it?
They just got some content for something for their morning lineup.
Oh, okay,
they can't get
all right,
to watch the damn network.
Even I watched it Saturday morning this time. You can be sure of that. It was like, wow, are you really doing that? And so if right off the bat you're explaining things differently, racism, color isn't race. It's just they're not explaining it right. And just let's just package that into 4 minutes in between 2 commercial breaks. Way to go, everybody. Very proud of you. Very proud of you.
I don't think to be honest about it, you're probably the only person plus maybe one other guy I watched it. I can't believe
you really are on. You're in such a mood today. Okay, since you say that, let's look at the ratings for Sesame Street on CNN.
Okay.
If they have it. I don't know if they have it this soon.
It's probably an asterisk. The dreaded asterisk.
They don't have the ratings yet. But it got a lot of play, and I'm sure that if they already have something on in the morning.
Come on, kids, let's watch CNN this morning.
No, the kids probably watch it anyway. And this was promoted. No, a lot of people heard about this.
No, there's a lot of good stuff. The regular PBS mornings, especially on Saturday, it's like 4 channels since they digitized it. So it's got 4 channels now. It's all kid stuff, and some of it's pretty decent. Well, I'll stop. I won't say anything else, but.
I can't find the overnight ratings, but I think that more than just me and a couple kids saw it, John, and that's kind of the point.
No, I don't think any kids. I said you and a couple other guys.
Okay, well, thanks. Here's hey, why don't I just do here? You can ridicule me for this. I'm going to play a clip from a former Oakland Raider.
I'm ridiculing the show. Why are you taking everything so personally?
They use, abuse, and discard. These people are evil. They love misery. They use that as a political strategy, and they've done it from back when the days of KKK, when the Democrat, the military arm was KKK. Now the military arm is Antifa. Their playbook doesn't change. What they do right now is they're trying to bring as much misery. And I have to be honest with you, we could predict that this was going to be happening 4 years ago, because every 4 years these guys recycle the same playbook. They find a person, a bad person, point to that person and say, this represents our country. They don't talk about all the service, all the good folks that go in and lift our country up. They don't talk about the fact that just beginning this year, we had the lowest unemployment in the history of our country for blacks, Hispanics, Asians, veterans, women. We had a 400% growth in business ownership, 40% in 2 years. Business ownership, black business ownership. That speaks volumes for the hope and vision and industry that we're having in our black community that we have not had a long time. But they don't talk about that because that brings hope. What the leftists, what the evil people do, they love chaos, they love fear, and we need to understand as a people, we the people, that's our enemy.
That's Burgess Owens, who I think is running for office as well. He's correct. The playbook doesn't change. 7 million people saw and I'm sure they're just a couple of guys saw the Sesame Street on YouTube.
You made your point.
7 million.
I don't know why anyone would watch it. Let's get back to the clip you just played. This is borne out by somebody did one of those Ngram things with Google, and it shows that just before an election, the Black Lives Matter meme jumps into the air.
Yep.
And then you have within the couple of months is the election. And then there's nothing for like 2 or 3 years, and then here we go again.
No,
and there's an election.
Don't we have little small one at the 2-year at the midterm elections? Don't we have little things happening?
That was the last one I was referring to.
We have some things.
It was not that small.
No, none of it's small, but this is, I think...
this is off the charts. This is actually, they may be blowing up their, there's a problem with doing too much too soon. I mean, the Democrats have tended to do this with their elections. I mean, Hillary, when she ran last time, she was running for about 2 years. She started her campaign very early.
Oh no, look out. Oh, she's doing it again. She heard you call. She comes out right away. She's swooping overhead. She should get in now, man. Now is the time for her to do it.
There's a lot of people saying that.
Now is the time for her to do it.
Well,
she can make those super predators heal. You know she can do a good job with that.
Yeah, wouldn't be. She'd be the one with the mic, with the thing at the lording it over the guy with the megaphone.
Oh yeah. Oh, she would love to do that. Absolutely.
So do you want to hear a couple of Biden clips, or do you want to hear instead of that? You know, I've got this series of clips because what happened, or what's happening is that the left is doing a very good job of making Trump the bad guy. It's Trump's fault, you know.
Yes.
The Minneapolis police, Trump.
Yeah.
The fact that the entire state of Minnesota is all Democrats and the state government's Democrats and the city guys Democrats, Trump,
of course.
So, and the fact that they burned out all the black businesses like that guy was bitching about, you know, the business being burned. Yeah, Trump. Well, Trump's only thinking about himself.
Before you go to Biden,
I was thinking of skipping Biden for now.
Oh, I just have a couple more things from the events over the past few days, which are just fun to listen to, like Al Sharpton, who was on the scene. So it's not only do we see the spike every 4 years in the United States of Black Lives Matter, but who's always popping up? It's always Sharpton. Sharpton is at every single one of these killings, that guy shows up. In fact, someone sent me a note this morning, and it was I'm failing pretty badly on that. No, I have it. I have the note. There it is. Wasn't
Sharpton a CIA or FBI guy for a long time?
Well, no, FBI informant. He ratted on people.
Yeah, is he still doing that? Maybe that's why he goes to these events.
Is. So Sharpton was there for the family, of course, George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, Stephen Clark, Michael Brown, Eric Gardner, and he was in North Carolina, even though they have Benjamin Crump as the lawyer, which is a Sharpton disciple or competitor, perhaps. Maybe that's why Reverend Al was there. He shows up and has asked a few questions.
We are from Canadian television. What's the message you want to send today?
That we want justice, that there should not be a funeral here today. You know, I preached the funeral of the victim of a chokehold by New York City Police, Eric Garner. 6 years ago, I preached the funeral in Ferguson. Policeman killed Michael Brown. Both of their families are here. How many funerals do we have to have before we change the laws and we have accountability? So I'm going to preach to this family that we're going to make sure that George Floyd did not die in vain. This is the tipping point for changing how policing is going to be done in America. And I'm going to be forthright in that. The hope I have is I've seen as many whites marching as blacks. I've seen people old and young. It's a new day. The time has met the moment of change in America, and I'm going to express that in my eulogy. And since you're from Canada, I won't have a 21-second gap before I say what I have to say.
So, for some reason, and I have the clip he's referring to, now Justin Trudeau is also a loser, as you heard Al say. Oh, it won't take me 20 seconds to answer the question. He's referring to this that happened on Scandinavian TV where Trudeau was asked a question and it took him an inordinate long time to answer.
Minister Tom Perry, CBC. You've been reluctant to comment on the words and actions of the U.S. president, but we do have Donald Trump now calling for military action against protesters. We saw protesters tear gas yesterday to make way for a presidential photo op. I'd like to ask you what you think about that, and if you don't want to comment, what message do you think you're sending?
So now he's just looking into the camera. He looks a little bit to the right. He swallows. He's looking straight ahead. His head goes a little askew, just a little bit, almost not noticeable. A slip smack. A yawn, a groan. Will he say something?
We all watch in horror and consternation what's going on in the United States.
Now, obviously, he didn't answer the question. But why? So he's now getting skewered because he's not answering right. He's not a proper ally, you see. And that's why Reverend Al is on this crap now. This is all shaming. It's all shaming. It's all shaming. It's horrible.
Well, there was a better example which I saw and didn't get the clip of because it was was not a lot of. You had to see it. He's with a bunch of protesters in Toronto.
Yeah,
he's got his mask on.
And he's crying. Wasn't he crying on his knees or that's everyone?
No, I didn't see that. It wouldn't surprise me. But he's coming out. And there's somebody yelled the yelling was pretty clear. Go home, blackface.
It's really?
Yeah.
Can't win, man. Can't win. Meanwhile, the actual family of George Floyd is really not all into this, it seems.
I just had to come down here, to speak to people and let people know that just channel your anger elsewhere. Don't tear up your town. All of this is not necessary because if his own family and blood is not doing it, then why are you? If his own family and blood is trying to deal with it and be positive about it and go another route to seek justice, then why are you out here tearing up your community? Because when you finish and then you turn around and then you want to go buy something, you done tore it up. So now you messed up your own living arrangements. So just relax. Justice will be served.
One of the editors at the Philadelphia Inquirer has had to step down as an editor for the paper for allowing the article with the headline to be published, Buildings Matter Too. Stepping down, out of the way, that's right.
Well, there was a thread on Twitter that was interesting to me, which was about the takeover of the New York Times by the millennial socialist justice warrior types.
Oh.
And the explanation went as follows. It was, and that's when they're all bent out of shape about something they published recently, and they all wanted to, they were ashamed. It was Tom Cotton wrote an
yes, and they pulled it, right? They retracted the op-ed.
They got everybody bent out of shape. Let's put it that way. And that's what op-eds are for. There's supposed to be opinions from different people. There are opinions.
But it was too opinionated, apparently.
Well, no, it was too Republican. And so what happened was apparently the old lefties that really kind of were more old-fashioned Democrats type that were running the editorial side of the paper, they started hiring what they thought were fellow travelers. The young. Let's bring some young people in.
Right.
And but they weren't just young people that were like gonna go there to be mentored by the old.
No, they brought the fox into the hen house.
Yes. And they brought so much of it in that they took over the place, and now they're dominating the internal culture of the old gray lady, which is what it was always referred to. It's not an old gray lady anymore, and it's a bunch of these kids, and none of them care about journalism so much as activism. And so the New York Times is just one of the worst case examples of this. The Washington Post has to be something similar like that going on there.
Sure.
more lefty.
Well,
but you can't trust either of these papers. If you see, I look at the news rundowns every day, and I look and I say, oh, and it's something, Trump's got to go tomorrow. And it's always New York Times, Washington Post. Or there's always some negative, very negative piece, and it's always the same two outlets. Yeah. Those two papers are not worth reading.
No, they really aren't. Unfortunately, we have an entire segment of the population who read it exclusively, and believe it to be true, even though no media, we're not always right. I don't think we're ever nefarious and trying to do something on purpose. We're not political activists because we don't get paid to do that. But these people do get paid. They get paid to keep their job, and you keep your job by following along and doing what everyone tells you to do. That's just the way it is. And your Dries B's knees, whatever, it's the same thing. He apologized twice because he really, really doesn't want the humiliation. And where is this coming from? And I'm starting a new category, or an old category anew in the show notes, nashownotes.com. A lot of this, not all, a lot of it is coming from and certainly influenced by George Soros. And I'm going to try and play as many clips as I can. The guy doesn't talk a lot, and when he does, it sounds like crap. He was at Davos this past year, and listen to what he said about the United States.
The stock market, already celebrating Trump's military success, is breaking out to reach new heights. But an overheated economy can't be kept at the boiling point for too long. If all this had happened close to the election, it would have assured his re-election. His problem is that the elections are still 10 months away, and in a revolutionary situation, that's a lifetime.
So there's your guy. He's basically saying it. So if that economy gets disrupted, it's not going to work for him. And in a revolutionary setting, 10 months until election is a lifetime. So there you go. All these little groups that he funds jump on stuff and do all kinds of things. And does he live in America or does he live in the UK? Where does Soros live?
Well, there you go.
We should kick him out.
He's not around here.
We should kick him out. That guy's no good.
First of all, there's a couple of flaws in his. I know what I agree with this, by the way. I think that he had something to do with it, and all he has to do is throw a bunch of money at something.
So there's direct financial evidence of payments from him to the organizers of Black Lives Matter. So there's no dispute.
But here's the problem. Because of as the electronic age has moved forward, the massive ADHD, which is part of the public's consciousness, and we've seen this and we witness it, and we talk about stuff that we talked about just very short time ago that we can barely remember. Once this situation halts, which is going to do, because you can't keep these riots up for more than maybe 2 or 3, maybe you can go 3 weeks, but people are just going to get sick of it and find something else to do. That will take us into July, maybe August. When September comes around and Trump starts doing advertising, that's what people are going to start to remember, because they're going to forget about this. It's going to pass the COVID. Oh yeah, whatever. I remember that happened last year. It's just the attention span is so short.
Yeah, that's
that
true.
You have to push this closer to. If this was done in the next flu season, in other words, if they broke out the COVID-19 in September, even though I don't believe they broke it, I think it escaped accidentally. It wasn't really intentional, but the rioting was. That's for sure. They just look for any excuse, and that's too early. I honestly believe they're blowing it. And I've talked over this with other people. And for example, there's a couple of clips I wanted to play.
Well, hold on. Let me respond. The point of playing this is not to say it's all over. The point is, here's who was at least financially behind some of it.
I think he's behind most of it.
Likely. I want to jump into what you said about when Trump starts to run commercials. Because I'm in total agreement. The short-term memory, it's all about what can we blast in your head now. People have no capability. I think it's probably, they're filled with all kinds of stuff. There's no more capability for them to remember exact same scenarios that happened 6 months ago or a year ago, which could have happened on the exact opposite political side. The difference now, there's a couple of differences, and one is that Bill Kristol is back, and he's got a lot of money, and I have to say, I saw this ad, I'll play the audio for it. He's got a good video guy who's doing Trump hate ads. Check this one out.
Where is the president in a time of national emergency? Hiding in his security bunker, watching his shows, afraid, alone. Not a leader.
But supposing you brought the light inside the body.
Not a president, just a scared, incompetent.
Within a couple of days, it's going to be down to close to zero.
Embarrassment. You know that. Those who have worked with him know that.
The former Defense Secretary James Mattis accusing President Trump of being a threat to the Constitution.
Our allies know that. And our enemies know that. Everyone knows that. It's time for a competent president. Let's elect one.
So now they have
Biden?
No, hold on. No, that's the thing. They don't say that, but listen to this.
Defending Democracy Together is responsible for the content of this advertising.
So what you're seeing is the red phone ringing at 3 a.m. So it's kind of like a call back to the who's gonna pick up the phone in the White House at 3 a.m. They put everything in there. Trump's hiding in his bunker. And the visuals are very well produced. Now, just a little bit about this group, Defending Democracy Together. We believe in American exceptionalism. We believe the United States of America is unlike any other nation on earth. So they are Republicans who hate Trump, also known as never Trumpers. But let's listen to the list for a second. So William Kristol, of course.
Neocon.
Project for New American Century, which predicted the 9/11 terror attacks. Very, very astute, this Bill Kristol. Mona Charen, who I don't know, but she's an author. Linda Chavez, I think she's a Wall Street Journal reporter. Christy Todd Whitman, of course, former governor of New Jersey. Bob Inglis. Oh, where do we know him from? He's been around.
Sounds familiar.
He's been around. Well, the guy that interested me the most was the video production director, Barry Rubin. I'm like, wow, who did this? And it's a goofy looking guy. Barry Rubin is director of video production at Defending Democracy Together. Barry started making videos at the age of 13 when he guilted his mother into allowing him to use his bar mitzvah money to buy a video camera. Sounds like the perfect guy to have on your team.
Oh, brother.
Guilting your own mother.
Well, a couple of things. That is funny, though. A couple of things. They throw in the threat to the Constitution. Mattis, which never, you can't find Mattis saying that, so that's a lie.
Yeah, of course.
And I want you to play, of course, duh. I want you to play the Dana Perino Trump in the bunker myth clip.
I also could, if I could just mention two things. One is this notion that the president was hiding in the bunker. I just want to be very clear. No president asks to go down to the bunker. That is a Secret Service decision. They come and they tell you, sir, you are going to the bunker. They actually had to carry Dick Cheney to the bunker because he didn't want to go after 9/11. I really hope that the media stops saying that the president was hiding. That wasn't his choice. The Secret Service is in charge of protecting the president. That's that choice. The other thing on the media that I just wanted to mention to you is this caught my eye today. So Michelle Goldberg is a columnist at the New York Times. I tend to read her because I like to get the perspective. And the headline is that she thinks de Blasio should resign. She's a very liberal, left-wing columnist. And I thought, wow, we're on the same page. And then I realized, oh no, she wants him to resign because he's not progressive enough, because he is sided too often with the police. And if you saw on the Daily Briefing today, one of the police officers who went after Cuomo and de Blasio saying, you have no idea what it's like to be us. They do not feel supported by their local leadership. And I'll leave it there.
You know, here's something I noticed. It's so bad how people are are just afraid to say what they think, mainly because of their job. Crystal Ball and what's the other guy's name to do the show?
Sagar.
You like that, right? It's pretty decent. We've played clips from it.
I like the show a lot. I think now that's why I have these Crystal Ball clips.
Well, let me lead into it, and I'll lead you right to the clip. So they were on Joe Rogan a couple days ago, and they flew out. They were on the show. Joe's a big fan. He's like, I love you guys, love what you're doing. They come back. The next show they do, and I didn't clip it, is all like, well, really, everyone's kind of leaning more progressive now. I mean, I don't really like what Trump has done. They're completely virtue signaling.
Well, not Sagar as much as Crystal Ball. There was
Crystal Ball. Yeah, Crystal Ball is really doing the signal.
No, she's flipped.
Yes.
And so
after Joe Rogan's appearance, I'm telling you, I saw it happen in real time.
Well, it was, according to Crystal Ball and this other guy, Sagar, it was because of some vlogger named Justin something or other, what did they watch?
No way. Here's how it goes. You sit at Joe Rogan's for 3 hours, and after he's like, I love you guys. And you can't help, he's a nice guy. And like, I agree with you, Joe. Yeah, sure. No, you're right. Yeah. And then it completely rubbed off. It was very interesting to see.
Huh. Well, anyway, there's this one guy that said he was a Trump supporter. He does a podcast of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I don't have his name in front of me. And according to the two of them, it meant a lot to, especially to Crystal, who's now flipped over and she's thinking about Biden, even though she knows he's an idiot. And so the two of them are also holed up because I guess this was a weekend presentation or something. They're at their houses.
Yeah.
And so she's not only influenced by Rogan's folk and this Justin character, and now she's back home and she's probably reading the New York Times, which has a bunch of Trump should quit editorials. And so here we go. Now she's sounding not her normal self. She's sounding more like the kind of dingbat she used to be at MSNBC. And here's K-Ball 1.
Really get behind and affirmatively vote for. Two things in my view have happened. I mean, like Kyle, I share the view that what Trump suggested with the Insurrection Act and sending the
Kyle the blogger. Kyle the blogger.
U.S. military into our streets to quash peaceful protesters, and I know you could say, it's just going to be the bad ones, but we saw before our eyes as, protesters that the president has now shared a letter basically, insinuating they're terrorists, were quashed with tear gas, with rubber bullets, with flashbang grenades. Church ladies, activists, journalists, whoever was in the way, quashed so that he can have this photo op. So in my view, the idea that you're going to send the military in and they're just going to be able to focus on the peaceful protests and protect everyone's First Amendment right, it's ludicrous to me looking at that. And look, he might not do it this time because now the protests have turned mostly peaceful.
So peaceful.
So she, if you listen to that clip again, she says, well, there's peaceful protests, and I don't like the idea of him bringing in the military to turn their guns on the peaceful protests, peaceful. So she's implying that they're peaceful protests. And then at the end, she says, well, maybe he won't do it now that they're turning peaceful. Wait a minute. If they were peaceful,
then they can't
all
turn
along,
peaceful. Mm-hmm.
How do you turn peaceful? So I'm thinking this is someone whose mind has been
just by turning the page in the New York Times.
Oh. Yes.
Now it's changed.
So they're turning peaceful. They're peaceful, but they're turning. So that doesn't make any sense. So she goes on. Let's see, I got K-Ball 1.
You don't have a 2. I don't see a 2.
I think 2 is missing. So go to 3.
By the way, may I suggest that K-Ball 1 is just a great title for the show? I don't know. It just sounds... But also it's it's all caps, K-B-A-L-L space O-N-E, K-Ball 1. I mean, that is a hip-hop brand. You can put that on a hoodie, a sweatshirt, it will sell like crazy. K-Ball 1.
Well, talking about K-Ball, it sounds a lot like a train.
Oh, did we see the Zephyr?
Yes, the Zephyr went by during one of your little things, probably about 10 minutes ago. It's late.
And?
Well, remember it was a 6 I think 666, and we're getting very irked by this because that's a bad sign. And what
we didn't mention the last show, yes, we had an 8 car. We didn't mention it because it happened before the show. And what happened in the 2 days after that?
I don't know what.
Stock market went crazy. Up 1,000 points.
Yeah, we had another 8 car today. So 8 cars is pretty
8 car is the normal economy.
Yeah.
It was discussed at the meetup yesterday. People said we didn't hear about the Zephyr on the show, and I said I'm angry at myself because it was an 8 car Zephyr. The market went like crazy on Friday. If it's an 8, if it's an 8 now, that means we'll stay pretty stable. Lord forbid it goes to a 9. But I'm telling you,
it has gone to a 9.
Go back and look.
Not recently.
Go back and look in the red book. Check mark recovery. Check mark recovery. Not V, not L. Check mark. It's in there. I said it.
Yeah, you can say it all you want. Check mark recovery. That is it is in the book. There's no doubt about it. But if I called you on this, say it was an L, like we're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You would say, I never said check mark. It was the banker who said check mark.
No, it was the banker who said check mark. It's in the book.
You're taking it out.
No, you're
it's
correct.
Official.
No, it's official. The banker said it. I reported it. And it's in the book.
Don't you want to agree? Say, I'm in on the check mark?
I've always been in on the check mark. I said I agreed with the check mark.
Okay. That's all I wanted to get. All right, let's go to K-Ball 3.
Joe Biden is who he is. We have a long record. We know what he stands for. He's promised us nothing's fundamentally going to change, and we should take him at his word. However, you have people in the streets in a way that I've never seen before in my lifetime. And you know that Trump is going to be completely unresponsive to them. He's not going to do one thing that they want. And not only that, is going to seek to crush them and try to quash their speech, because that's what we've seen him do. We know he's not going to be responsive, and he's just going to try to quash them. Biden, on the other hand, is at least trying to incorporate, he is subject to some pressure, right? He is subject to pressure.
He's part of the coalition at the end of the day.
He's part of the coalition, and this is 78% support, the protesters. So it's very much the mainstream of America.
Oh my goodness. I don't mind. I mean, I have respect for the Bill Kristol group because they just say we hate Trump, we don't want him. They don't say vote for Joe Biden because they're not nuts. And of course, they're Republicans. But K-Ball here to say, I'm really considering Joe Biden. Come on, girl. Let's be real about that for a second. No, you're not. You might be considering his possible VP pick, who I don't know who that's going to be at this point, other than the globalist pushed Stacey Abrams, which I just don't see happening.
No. It's going to be Amy. What does she mean when she says Trump won't give them what they want? What do they want? There must be something that you can express. Because if Trump won't give them what they want...
Who is they?
Well, the protesters. What do the protesters want?
What do we want? Justice.
Oh, okay. They won't give them justice.
Believe me, they're going to get justice from Trump, that's for sure. Just may not like it.
All right, let's go on with K-Ball 4.
Since he is part of that coalition, since he depends on them for his political support, he will be somewhat responsive, at least to the demands that are coming out of this movement. So it's not just
what demands
that, in my view, Trump has become...
The demands are defund the police, as far as I've heard. Defund the police has been the main one. Or abolish the police, which has turned into defund. Do you see any other demands?
I see the exact same two you see: abolish or defund, usually one or the other.
Well, that's the demand. That's the demand.
Well, that's up to the locals to do. It's not up to the president of the United States. Now, unless you're thinking that we should, which is, by the way, something the liberals have kind of expressed an interest in, the idea of a national police force. This has come up in the conversation a number of times.
Yeah, and I remember Obama had something. Some kind of
he was going to do some
security
crazy,
but Trump also had something weird like that. Some kind of there was some kind of security forces or some join up, like Brown Shirts for America.
Yeah, that's what all these. Yeah, that's what it would be. The clip still going?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Yeah.
That, in my view, Trump has become worse and even more unacceptable and has committed maybe the worst act of his presidency, in my view. It's also that because of the protesters in the streets, I actually think Biden's presidency will be somewhat better than it would have been before. So for me, it's both of those pieces.
Wait, his presidency will be better than what? His presidency before, huh?
No.
Poor Crystal.
That literally is what she said, but what she meant was, I think that what she meant was a projection that because of the protesters, his presidency would be better with all these protests than it would have been if they hadn't been any protests.
Okay, yeah, fair point.
And so what she's trying to say is that the protesters are already pushing him around, which doesn't sound like much of a president you want. But so meanwhile, Sagar comes in on clip 4 here and says something which is a little key, this is something that the left is talking about, or the Democrats, not the left. The Democrats are talking about this particular buzz phrase. And tell me if you've heard it.
Since he is...
Wait, this 4 or 5? This must be 5.
Oh, what am I?
Yeah, you said 4, but it's 5. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So I think that's interesting. It's very much a Flight 93 calculus. And I don't begrudge or judge anybody for holding that position.
Wow, I've not heard this. A Flight 93 calculus?
Yeah, the two of them talked about it quite a bit, and then I'm starting to catch it elsewhere amongst conversations in left-wing talk radio.
Now, Flight 93 was the Let's Roll flight, correct?
I thought Flight 93 is the one that crashed and it was literally shot down, but we don't talk about that.
Well,
it's the one that...
Flight 93... I thought that was the Let's Roll. No, yes, but that was, because of the Let's Roll. I think. Yeah, Flight 93, Let's Roll. Because they were going to go storm the cockpit, and then it crashed.
Right.
So so it was Let's Roll. Now, how does it work for them? It's like we have to storm the cockpit, but we'll crash? I mean, is that their analogy? Sounds groovy.
I've tried to deconstruct what they're talking about, but there's got to be in the literature someplace. I haven't heard a good explanation for it, but it's something. Right, sounds great. Let's storm the cockpit and crash this sucker.
Yes, the Flight 93 calculus means we might as well kill everybody so that we can have more planes flying in the future. I can't think of any. Let me just got to look this up. This is
okay. It could be this. How about this for an idea while you're looking it up?
Okay,
it's we're going to run this Biden guy, even though he's a loser. We're going to lose this election, but we're going to have a lot of money from the bankers.
Okay.
And Soros will give us money. I mean, what else could it be?
Wow.
Does anybody in the troll room have any thoughts on Flight 93 calculus?
Let's see. Biden backers make the Flight 93 case against Trump. Well, this seems like the one we want to have. So thank you very much, trolls. And let's see what they say. This is from the Claremont Review of Books, the Flight 93 election. Here we go. This is where it's from. Listen, the Flight 93 election, the election of, that's 2016. So maybe it's a revamp, will test whether virtue remains in the core of the American nation. Okay, let's read this and understand. Who wrote this thing? I don't know. 2016 is the Flight 93 election. Charge the cockpit or you die. You may die anyway, you or the leader of your party. You may make it into the cockpit and not know how to fly or land the plane. There are no guarantees, except one. If you don't try, death is certain. Wow. I had not heard of this, but they brought it back from 2016. And in 2016, to compound the metaphor, a Hillary Clinton presidency is Russian roulette with a semi-auto. With Trump, at least you can spin the cylinder and take your chances. So it was used in the opposite direction. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I thought so.
But it was used in 2016.
Yeah,
as pro-Trump, and now it's anti.
Yeah. Well,
it's a very, very interesting message, but wow, that's what it is, man. Okay, so we got to storm the cockpit. I mean, isn't that just inciting violence?
I don't know what it is.
Well,
they're looking for anything. They're grasping at straws.
And with that, I would like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in CNN's ratings, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to all the trolls in the troll room. Good to have you here.
Yes, noagendastream.com. How many do we have? Usually on Sunday, we're kind of up there. Let's see. I'm not allowed. 18, almost 1,900. So pretty good. We're also a little late on our segment for today. We're just having too much fun, apparently.
I think
yes?
I'll bet you the bigger the Zephyr, the chat room starts to shrink.
Yeah, because they're going back to work. Exactly. It's exactly right. Let's see. NoAgendaStream.com. You can listen to all the live shows live, but also find some cool podcasts. It's 24/7, 7 days a week, or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And fun people to meet there, hang out. They will point you towards some fun shows. All commercial free, all good, value for value. And you can also get an invite there to noagendasocial.com. So go to noagendastream.com and listen along and troll with the best of the trolls anywhere. And a big in the morning to Darren O'Neill. He brought us the artwork for episode 1248. We titled that one, Did You Just Crack a Beer?